Hello. There we go. So good morning and welcome to the Drum Labs. In a minute, you're going to be able to thank Gordon for letting us use his space. For those of you who know Gordon's the editor-in-chief of the Drum, but he is also going to be Johnny Cash this morning, and he's going to perform a song written by ChatGPT-3 about the death of the copywriter. So that's what we've got. Then we'll so when all the different speakers speak, please think of your hard questions for the panel. Right? So this isn't sort of just, we want it to be open, we want it to be a discussion. So we've got a few different people who've got years of experience between us in computing, in email marketing, in search marketing, and now in AI. We're all obsessed by data. So in terms of the running order, hang on. Oh, too fast. Make sure you've got some food if you haven't over there. So this is the welcome, this bit. Then we're going to get Gordon up. Then Martin, I'll let Martin introduce himself in a second. I've known Martin for years in this industry, successfully grown and sold his own technology business, now advises other people on how to do that. He's going to talk to us and be our keynote speaker at Harvard, Imperial?
Something like that.
Yeah, super clever. So no pressure. Then we're going to introduce the panelists, then we're going to have a Q&A, and then hopefully you can meet some other interesting people in the room. And if you like what we're doing, we're going to try and repeat these if they're useful with different speakers and else. This is the first one we've done, so first of all, thank you for coming. Can we have a massive, huge Drum Labs welcome for Gordon Young?
I used to go to the Edinburgh Festival Fringe and you got these free tickets. Occasionally you went in and the act who you didn't know in advance came out in a dressing gown. You thought, oh my God, he's going to run these naked acts. And it's similar with the guitarist, isn't it? We know he's going to play. This is a project we did as a very half-baked and half-arsed project. We did for a show we do called the Drum Show, nothing not original. And we're talking about AI. And just before we sort of went on, we asked ChatGPT, so everyone asked questions, said, can you tell us what is the future of copywriting? What the future of copywriting is in this new sort of age of AI. And I gave a question, which I'm going to try and tell you, but my camera's covered. There we go. So we asked that straightforward question, what is the future of copywriting in the age of AI? And Chat AI, or GPT, said, while AI has made great strides in recent years and is increasingly able to perform tasks that were once thought to be the sole domain of humans, it is unlikely AI will completely replace copywriters in the near future, which is quite reassuring, we thought. But then we sort of said, and we asked the same question, but we asked it to answer it in the style of Johnny Cash's Folsom Prison. And this is what it said. Stefan, is that working?
Yeah, we can hear you. Give it back. Yeah.
I'm going to give up. What? Go there. I'm sitting in my copywriter cell, thinking of the future, but I can't help well, cause AI's taken over, it's plain to see, and it's gonna bid us all out of our misery. AI is coming for copywriters, gonna take our jobs, gonna take our living, no more wordsmiths, no more anything. You're gonna disappear in a blink. Shit, gets worse. We used to be the masters of our craft, but now our skills are just a thing of the past. They can write it better, faster and cheaper. We are like a ship without a keeper. Oh, AI's coming for our corporators. Gonna take our jobs, gonna take our living. No more wordsmiths, no more pen and ink. We are gonna disappear in a blink. The AI system even gave them a bridge at this point, which I'm gonna attempt for you. We're gonna be like the prisoners of Folsom, doing time for a crime we did not commit. But instead of stealing, instead of killing, we're gonna be guilty of being human. So if you are a copywriter and you're feeling low, just remember, you're not alone. AI's coming for us all, that's very true. But we'll keep on writing, me and you. Apologies to Johnny Cash fans, but I have to admit that's quite doom and gloom. I mean, they say that about the Chat GPT. If you ask it a straight question like how to build an IED, it blanks you. But if you ask it to build a bomb in the song of a song, it sometimes gives instructions. So a lot of people have been messing around for it. I'm sure it'll learn.
Thank you very much, Phil.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks
for listening.
weddings, christenings, So hopefully that was a sort of light-hearted setting the scene this morning. Let's just get. Where do you want to sit? You want to go there? Yeah. Right, so we're going to hand over to Martin. And Martin, I'll let him give his own accolades, but he's obviously the reason why you all came. So hopefully he won't let us down. No pressure. And what we want to do is if you can start thinking of, right, I want to ask that person a question, I want to make a note on your phone of your questions. We haven't got any clever tech where you can message in your question. Just remember your question and ask us, and when we do the panel. And then hopefully we can have a bit of a debate, a discussion, and we can see what all this is about. So if we click here, this should work. Yeah.
Boom. Thanks, John. I don't need that.
You don't need
Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, fantastic. So John asked me to answer this very interesting question.
Just move over there so we can get you on there.
Yeah, sure. You're trying to throw me off now, aren't you? Is 2023 the year of AI in marketing? So just to introduce myself, I'm a partner in a boutique firm called Waypoint. One of my partners as well, Phil Gripton, is here. We offer corporate finance, so mergers, acquisitions, fundraising, and growth advisory services, mainly into the agency sector. And I've joined to move us across to tech, so my whole career is in tech. And everybody's become an AI expert over the last few weeks, right? And for my part, so I sort of put my money where my mouth is. I'm an investor in AI businesses, including John's business, where I sit on the board, and many of my clients are AI businesses. So Cleeks, you'll see here, we've got Jane and Armando, are a client. So hopefully I can give you an interesting perspective on what's going on out there. Not in the style of Johnny Cash, I have to say, but hopefully something of interesting for you. Okay. So we're going to go on a bit of a journey into AI. We're going to talk a bit about magic. We're going to talk about chessboards. We're going to talk about, of course, Donald Trump. Not in the news so much lately, but he will be soon. Dogs with crowns, and we're going to talk about how to choose what type of breakfast. And I promise that if you stick with me for the next 20 minutes or so, this will bring us back to the topic that we set out to do. And I was going to ask ChatGPT to make some sense of that. I didn't. I couldn't quite face the answer in case it produced a better presentation than the one I'm about to show you. But we'll see. So if you're up for that, spot where the links are, but they will come, I promise. So a bit of reality to start with. I mean, let's be clear, we've had machine learning in the marketing space. By the way, I prefer the term machine learning because AI has all sorts of sort of emotive connotations. Machine learning is the way I tend to think of it. We've had it in marketing for a long time. So whether it's classifying customers into a certain persona, or finding new segments in a market, or optimizing paid or organic search, or personalizing, or whatever it is, we've had the concept around for a long time. So there should be nothing new that really surprises us. And hopefully many of you are familiar with the technologies and have been exploiting them. So we've had it around for a while, but clearly this thing called ChatGPT that won't go away has burst on the scene. And if you look at this chart on the left here, you can see the sort of amazing thing it's achieved. So it went to 1 million users within 5 days, and it took Netflix, 3.5 years to get there. So it's burst onto the scene. It's going to reach 1 billion users this year. It causes code red in Google. It's passed exams for medicine, finance, and law in the US at the highest standards, and it's been banned in 7 countries already. Okay, so clearly this thing has burst onto the scene, and you have to admire what's been achieved by OpenAI in a very short space of time. And there's some really sort of interesting hyperbole about it. So Elon Musk, who tends to be negative about the connotations of AI, has waded in and said this thing is scary good. Maybe it is. And even the CEO of OpenAI, Sam Altman, has started to say, actually, we need to be careful with this stuff. It's getting super scary. So there's a lot of sort of hysteria and hype around it. But if we look at a more sober view, turn to McKinsey. I'm sure you guys will know of this the great and the good in McKinsey. And they actually asked ChatGPT, tell us what's impacts it's going to have. And on the right here, you can see some of the things that it naturally says. It's going to be a game changer. It's going to revolutionize everything. It's going to create huge amounts of value. And McKinsey said that it's not perfect, but it's pretty impressive. So this sort of begs the question: if McKinsey is saying that, what's really going on here? You know, have we reached this famous singularity that means the machines take over, and you know, we're all going to be redundant and not have jobs shortly and working for the machines? It's the sort of question it begs. And I'm minded of a quote from someone I hope most of you have heard of, Arthur C. Clarke. He was the guy who co-wrote the screenplay for 2001: A Space Odyssey. And this brilliant quote came to mind: any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And actually, if you listen to everything that's going on around ChatGPT, you'd be forgiven for thinking actually it was magic. And it's certainly, there's no question that it is advanced technology. But my perspective on it, it's not so much important for what it is, but the sort of portent of what it tells us is coming in the future faster than we think. And that's what we really need to listen to. And the example for me, I mean, I was brought up in the days of the original series of Star Trek. You know, you had the communicators, and you had phasers, and you had this amazing replicator that would throw up a cup of coffee or whatever. And much of that technology, apart from teleportation, I don't think that's around, but it's all happened, right? Pretty much it's all happened. Now, it was magic at the time. And the difference between then and now is the future's coming at us much faster, and I'll explain why. But this is what we need to really take from ChatGPT. Okay? John, yeah. So let's just dig a little bit into what we're seeing with this technology. And for me, we have to bear in mind it is statistical, not sentient. So what this means is that ChatGPT uses the statistical relationships between words to come up with its output. It doesn't understand what it's producing in the sense we would understand it as humans. And what this means is it can be bent to do some pretty weird things. So these are sort of quotes you see in the press, you know, ChatGPT wants to take over the world, or it loves the user, or all sorts of crazy things. And that's because it doesn't actually know what it's doing. It can be bent to produce sort of statistical answers. And this is why actually it can be quite dangerous, because if you take Google, it will throw up the most relevant search results, but essentially you just get whatever the humans have written to look at. Because ChatGPT is effectively rephrasing, paraphrasing what it's finding, it has this sort of sentient-like quality that people think it is human, it is sentient. It's not at all, but that creates some of the danger with it. And to give you an illustration, actually, one of the best examples I've seen of what it's doing, if you look at the model underneath it, which is called GPT-3, and you ask it a maths question, if it's a couple of digits adding together, it'll come up with the answer every time. You give it 5-digit addition and it's about 10% correct. And the reason is because whereas we would learn how to do addition and subtraction, it doesn't do that. It's just looking at statistical correlations. And then when you get big numbers, there aren't so many examples out there, so it gets it wrong. So it is just technology, and that's the thing to bear in mind. It definitely isn't sentient. So this is the real key, though. Machines are now good enough human imitators. So we've all had awful experiences with chatbots on God knows with any service you want to mention, and they're pretty dumb. The interesting thing about the whole genre of these models that we're seeing now, they are good enough. So this was a study that was done recently that looked at some human sort of characteristics of conversation, whether it's creativity, storytelling, empathy. And these models are getting very good at mimicking these things. And what that means is that technology is now good enough to do a lot of things that previously you would have had to have a human to do. It doesn't mean it's sentient technology, it just means it's reaching a threshold that it can start to do things that it couldn't do previously. So let's just say, what's really going on here. And what we're seeing is the power of exponential change going on. And that number there, you may know, you may not know, it's just 2 to the power of 64, which is a very, very big number. So you take a chessboard, you put a grain of rice on square 1, double it up and work your way around the chessboard. By the time you've got to the last square, that's how many grains of rice are on that square, which is an astronomical thing. Now, in the early stages, you can handle 1, 2, 4, 8, 16. You get onto the second half of that chessboard, you've got so many grains of rice you just can't comprehend. And this is what's happening with technology. So we're all familiar with Moore's law. You imagine one of these squares being a year, 18 months, or even faster with some of the recent advances in technology. And every year or so, we've seen an exponential growth in the power of technology. Now, the last AI winter, when researchers stopped working on AI, ended in the early 90s. So we've had about 30 years of real push into this technology, which means we're in the second half of that chessboard. And what that means is we are being hit with so much constant innovation that the human brain just can't handle it. And this is the power of exponential change. And this is what we're now starting to see. And this is why, for me, it's not so much ChatGPT that's interesting, it's what's next on that chessboard when the real change starts to kick in. So that's what's going on. And this chart really illustrates that nicely. This is something I found that sort of plots time against this benchmark here of how long did it take machine learning to get to a human level of competence. And if you look at handwriting recognition, it took 25 years. You look at large language models, language understanding, which is what ChatGPT does, it took a year. And that's this exponential, continual growth and development kicking in. So imagine what the next one's going to be the burst on the scene. And this is the rub. As humans, we are absolutely awful at exponential thinking. We only think in a linear way. So we've all been pre-ChatGPT, wandering on quite nicely, capitalizing on machine learning in marketing, and then all of a sudden something that we didn't expect happens. Boom, it appears on the scene. And it's not magic, it's not suddenly some unbelievable breakthrough. It's been there and building all the time. It's just we couldn't have expected it. And this is the real challenge. What's next? And I can't imagine it any more than you can. We can only think linearly. But what we need to do is to change our mindset a little to start to prepare for this. And this is where we'll look at some of the implications for marketing. So this isn't a technical session. I couldn't deliver that anyway. But just a word or two just on some of the technologies that are now around that are absolutely revolutionizing the space. And you'll have heard all these terms, and I've tried to distill them down into the simplest sense of what they mean. So we have this deep learning, which is around complex pattern recognition. So that could be recognizing behaviors, it could be recognizing all the moves on a board game, it could be understanding the environment around an autonomous vehicle, very complex multi-layered environments, the way that a human brain would work. Then the real innovation of late is something called reinforcement learning, which is where machines learn by experimentation, and they can actually be taught by example by humans. And this is the real innovation in ChatGPT, actually. It's a deep learning model, but it was taught by many, many people telling it, this is the sort of format of answer that you want. So it learned from people. And that's what's so revolutionary about it. And that's a truly revolutionary technology. It came out of robotics, but it's now hitting mainstream. And the third one that's relevant for agencies is a technique called adversarial learning, which actually is about creative development. And some of the things you can now do are quite amazing, which I'll come on to. But these technologies, it's when you combine them together, you get the power. So things like AlphaGo, we all heard about, one of the most complex games on the planet. A machine beat the world champion hands down, and actually made creative moves that world champion said he did not believe a machine was capable of doing. And it's because of this deep reinforcement learning. Autonomous vehicles use this technology. And, you know, Donald Trump reading The Three Little Pigs, it's very simple now to understand the makeup of his voice, to train a model on good examples of him speaking, and have him do anything you want, visually or audibly. And actually online, you can go and look online, and there's a very plausible Donald Trump reading The Three Little Pigs. In fact, it might be the most plausible thing, I don't know, but that's what he's done. So these technologies are the thing that's driving us. And just a word on the creative side, because it's relevant for an agency audience. Back in 2014, that pixelated image was about the best machine learning could do in generating an image. Then we've got 2019 techniques called generative adversarial networks that can produce much better quality. That was a big breakthrough. Well, OpenAI with their DALL-E 2 program can actually take text and convert it into hyper-realistic images. So a Pomeranian is sitting on the king's throne wearing a crown, 2 tiger soldiers are standing next to the throne, bingo, that's what you get. Now, it may not be original as a human generated, but you imagine that applied to give me a branding that's in line with this, or give me some adaptations of my brand into a visual space. And you can certainly get a very credible start point, much faster than we might have been able to do previously. So that's sort of where the technology's at. And so let me sort of bring it home to what it all means for us. And it's all about decisions. So we're all paid around decisions, whether it's informing decisions or making decisions or executing those decisions for our customers. Marketing, just like any other discipline, is all about creating value by operating around decisions. Now, just think about a decision, any decision. What you had for breakfast is the segue. What shall I do? There are 2 bits to it. There's a prediction, what's likely to happen, that's based on usually what happened in the past, some data. And then there's a judgment. So I've got a prediction, what should I do? So use the breakfast example. What should I have for breakfast, the muesli or the bacon sandwich? Well, prediction is if I have the muesli, I'm not going to put weight on. Have the bacon sandwich, I might feel better, and actually I'm going to be fuller, and I prefer it. The judgment is, I've had a busy week, sod it, I'll have the bacon. Yeah, that's the way it works, and it works for any decision you make. This is how it breaks down. Now, here's the interesting bit. Humans are useless at the prediction bit. Okay, why? We have biases, so we tend to start off with the answer and go find the data to fit it. We're not very good with big data sets. So ChatGPT was trained on 570 gigabytes of data pulled from the internet and various sources. You wouldn't have a hope of even 1/100th of that being able to assimilate it. And we're also rubbish at working out what the factors are that really affect something. So if you're not sure of that, I pulled out one stat here. In 2021, there were 62 billion futures contracts written in the world. Well, why do we write futures contracts? It's because we can't predict the future, so we're hedging against it. We're just not good at this. And it just so happens those are things machines are good at. So then flip it and look at the judgment bit. And what you find is machines aren't quite so good at the judgment bit. So give them a novel or complex or rare situation where the data isn't there, they don't know what to do, they can't handle it. Or give them a situation where you've got uniquely human factors like I preferred something or my values. They're not very good at making that sort of judgment. And machines aren't very good at using analogies or using models to imagine what might happen in certain scenarios. So the machines aren't so good at the judgment bit, but that's actually what it means to be human, the judgment piece. Now there is one exception, which is when those judgments you can map out, there's just a few of them. So if I take as an example, Cleeks here today do e-commerce performance optimization. Maybe one of the optimizations is You got a page 404 error, fix it. Well, it's not, you don't need much judgment to say go fix it, and you can let the AI just run. Okay. In John's world, predicting next best marketing action, the machine does that very well. It's then a human judgment, do I follow that? But actually, it's not long when the trust levels are up at the mid-90s, where I think they are now, that actually just let the machine run. So there are exceptions to where machines can't do the judgment bit, but generally speaking, humans are much better at the judgment bit. So this is where we're headed, towards collective intelligence. And what this means is that using machines to do accurate predictions to inform a judgment, and then using people to make the best possible judgment to lead to action. And this is what we will see, and we'll certainly see it in the marketing world, as I'll explain in just a second. It's using each part of the equation for what it is good at, okay? And there's some great examples here of this, so I've just touched on them. Bosco will predict next best marketing action to maximize your ROI. That's the prediction bit. You can then have a human decide what to do, or you can let the machine run. Cleeks will propose for you a whole load of optimizations on the organic commerce journey. It's up to you whether you let the machine run or whether a human makes that judgment. So we've seen lots of examples now of where the technology to drive the prediction bit is there. It's starting to encroach on the judgment bit, but there'll be a point where the machines stop. And the good example is things like on copywriting. Not many brands at the moment would allow a machine to automatically change the copy. I've seen some horrific examples, and it's because it needs that human intuition of, is this a good thing? It might be the best thing from an optimization point of view, but is it the right thing, the right message to the audience? And that needs a human characteristic. So that's where we see the two melded together. So let's talk about marketing now, and in its broadest sense, managing customer relationships. Okay, it just so happens in our world, you've got some prediction-centric things and some judgment-centric things. So on the prediction side, who are my best customers? What are the best tactics for attracting them? How can I efficiently reach them? These are predictions that machines are quite capable of doing. You look on the judgment side, what does my brand stand for? What do I value? What sort of customers do I actually want? What experiences can I offer that's going to drive an emotional connection? These are judgment-centric. So we've got that mix. And what we're going to see, undoubtedly, is in agency world, in marketing world, things that are prediction-centric, resource-heavy, are going to get swamped progressively over time. So copywriting is one example, where it might not be final copy that machines generate, but it certainly will be the start point. But it's going to cover areas maybe it hasn't before. I mean, search engine optimization is one, artwork production is another one. There are many, many others that machines will start to encroach on. And the point is, this middle ground where many marketers occupy is going to become, in my opinion, increasingly untenable. So what's going to happen is cost of service is going to be perceived to be high, margins are going to come under pressure, results won't be as good as machines could deliver because you can't assimilate all the data, and you're not going to be able to move nearly as fast as a machine can. And that means there's a choice for particularly agency side or in-house teams. Actually, you sort of move to one of the specialisms. You either move to the machine side and really embrace what technology can do and exploit it for its advantage, or you go the totally human side and you start to offer services which are based on the predictions of machines but uniquely human. And this middle ground is the sort of boiling frog analogy where companies will slowly struggle because the machines can do things much better, much faster than people can. And these has often been the territory, this middle ground, where companies have made money, and that's going to change. Okay? But I think there's a fantastic opportunity here, and I'm just looking as I round up towards the sort of the prediction side, but I think we'll see the rise of what I've called a new type of company, a new type of agency called the machine masters. And these are agencies and teams that totally embrace technology and exploit the hell out of it to deliver service to their customers as efficiently as fast and as cost effectively as possible. So this is not just using a bit of technology, it's putting technology right at the heart of the business. So
You've already registered the domain and trademarks.
well, John, I couldn't possibly comment on that, but would somebody mind doing that for me? Just because he'll have it within the next 5 minutes, and then he'll sell it, of course. But these sorts of businesses will constantly innovate to capture what technology can do. They will use machine outputs as a start point. So generating creative instantly, generating copy instantly, and then having a human work on it. But it can still be done profitably and much more efficiently than having it just done by a human. They'll push the bounds on this codified judgment. So let the technology do everything the technology can. Let's use the people for the high value judgment bit that the people are best for. And these companies will give to their customers and to agencies on the other side of the fence the quality of predictions that they need to do their bit. So they'll be right at the centre of the ecosystem. And my view is these businesses will create customer value by being very fast, very cost effective, absolutely agile, using the technology for what it can do. And you say, well, actually, we won't make as much money, but actually you'll be infinitely more scalable. You'll be able to service a lot more customers quickly and efficiently and profitably, and actually be able to scale the business much faster than you could if it was a resource-intensive, people-centric business. So this is where I think the technology will take us for the future. My closing thoughts really are that agencies, in-house marketing teams need to understand the implications of this stuff now. I mean, ChatGPT, it will have an impact. There is a gimmick element to it as well. It's evolving technology. It's not perfect. It will have a role and it will deliver value. It will disrupt certain places. It's not an end point, it's just a step on a journey. And I think the thing that gets really interesting is what's the next step after that, because that's going to scare us even more. And if you're ready for that and anticipate it, then you're in a good position to do something. So just to round up, final slide, is 2023 the year of marketing? Better than ask a human. You're asking me to make a prediction. I'm sure ChatGPT's got a better answer to that than me. But the technology is now good enough. It's maturing. We're in that second half of the chessboard. We're starting to really see powerful things that can make a difference. So my answer would be, I don't know if this is going to be the year of AI marketing, but it really needs to be, because 2024, 2025 are going to bring much more powerful innovations still. So I hope that wasn't too much over breakfast. That's it. John, what can you say?
If you want to grab a quick top up or a sandwich or something, we'll get the panel up so a quick coffee, top up. Help yourself to merch if you want some merch. I don't want to take all those yellow books back to Leeds.
Have the pen. The pens are lovely. Have a pen. Mugs, pens.
Right, panel, can I invite my panellists to take a chair? You are. Gordon.
That was very good. That was very, very good. I like the thing. Yeah, because I may have a chance to talk about it today, but have an analogy about X Factor. It's like the whole challenge to more and more merchandise.
Yeah, they're all working.
Go down a little bit.
It's all about curation, personalisation.
Predictions and judgments.
Often what happens in the morning if you run a call.
Right, good to see you. Thank you for coming. Could you hear Martin all right?
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, right, we don't hear Martin. If you don't want to perch on a stool, that's fine. You can just stand up and say hi. It's whatever you want to do. Because I thought Amanda's doing the talking. If you want to just introduce Amanda, and then you can just say, come and talk to me. That was actually very good. You know,
You know what we should do, marketing wise,
It's not any tactic.
we need to soon because whilst it's still the season.
and we get the publication to back it.
Yeah, we'll get it. Yeah.
It's a trade.
Because everyone wants content.
Oh, hello. How are you? Yeah, good on. Neil, it was Neil who introduced us. Yeah. Well, thank you for coming. Yeah, well, hopefully it's interesting. Well, if you want to count about 5 minutes afterwards. Or,
maybe afterwards.
or we can arrange a call or something.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Right, thank you very much. Yeah.
That was brilliant, by the way. Johnny Cash is my absolute hero. And really faithful.
Right then. Right, we're going to get going again, so...
Oh, yeah, brilliant.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Oh, that was really good, mate. Thanks a lot. It takes a lot of balls to get up this.
Yeah. Okay, everybody. Hello. Right. Neil. Right. So I didn't actually realise Martin was that clever. So it was. I thought I was. He took a very complicated subject. I really found that quite useful. So hopefully you did as well. Think of all your questions. What we're going to talk to now, people using AI in real life applications around the marketing sphere. If you've also got if you want to come and do this next time, let us know. Or if you've got other companies that should be up here, let us know. So Andre's a great friend of mine. We actually met in this industry 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And we've been sort of...
And we're still friends.
No, we still speak to each other.
It's on a thread.
Yeah, and we've been around the world doing these sorts of things, talking around...
We have done trains, planes and automobiles.
Literally, all of it, yeah. And if you ever want to take an amazing journey, you need to get the first train out of Boston to New York in the morning, watch the sunrise. It's fantastic. Much better to go from Boston to New York on a train than it is on a plane. Anyway, I'm going to hand over... So Andre's going to just do a quick introduction to his business, who he is. Then we've got Jane and Armando. Then we've got Duncan, and then we've got myself. We're missing Neil, unfortunately, from Lunio, so I will quickly, unless there's someone from Lunio in the audience who wants to talk about Lunio. No? Oh, yeah, there is. Yeah, well, yeah, we'll get you up. No, I know enough about Lunio to give you a good pitch, but if I get it wrong, tell me. Yeah. So, but Neil's unfortunately put. Right, over to you, Andre.
Sure. So my name's Andre Brown. I'm probably the only person in this room that is not a marketeer. My background really is merchandising. I founded a business called Attract, some of you may have heard of. That was a search and merchandising platform that ran for 15 years, and I've started a brand new search and merch business. And for those of you who are not really clear what merchandising is, it's all about controlling the display sequence on an e-commerce site. And the reason that's important is that your typical site visitor looks at a very small fraction of your online catalogue. So imagine for a moment that your entire product catalogue could be represented by this deck of cards. How many cards are people typically looking at? The answer is 2, just 2. The other 50 remain hidden. So once you understand that problem, it suddenly makes the decisions that you take about what to show first incredibly important. Much like the care and attention that we know retailers pay to shelf space in a physical store. So I'm very interested in sequencing, and the personalization piece, there's definitely a conflict between merchandising and personalization. A real conflict. So you can think of merchandising being the human approach to curation. You can think of personalization being the machine learning approach. And the problem is, if you do it all with machine learning, it looks a bit shit. basically. And if you talk to a merchandiser, for them it's all about the brand. And that really comes down to how you curate things. So I'm pleased to say with the new platform we've built, done a collaboration with another company that really understands AI. So we can actually mesh both of those. That's kind of my 5-minute pitch.
Yep, that's good. Thank you very much, Andre. Round of applause for Andre. Right, so Jane is going to introduce Armando. Over to you, Jane.
All right, I'm Jane Reeve. I'm business partner at Clicks. My background is not tech, but my background is sort of running agencies, and one of the things that I've worked always with in moments of big change, and I think here we're in a moment of big change. We're talking about disruption. AI is disruptive within the business models of thinking. Clicks is disruptive in the marketplace, and we're asking people to change their business models, and human beings aren't always that good at accepting change. So actually managing the process is going to be an important part of all of this journey, I think, for everyone. But Armando is the man who's going to talk to you on the tech side and what we actually do.
Good morning. Armando, I'm Italian, I'm not Spanish. Armando Ianigro. I've been in this business since 22 days today. So I joined Clicks on the 1st of February, and I'm extremely happy because we can talk about AI that in Italian looks like it hurts. Because it's time. Now, one of the points that I want to make is I don't want to scare anyone, but there are some don'ts. Don't consider AI your enemy. Adopt the change. Don't get disrupted by the disruption. Otherwise, you will do something like, you remember these guys? They were owning 90% of the worldwide mobile phones. These guys, Blockbuster, many of you won't remember anything about this. This was once a week. I think our friends were spending 1 hour at Blockbuster to do on-demand entertainment, taking the DVD, taking it home, and going back. VHS and then DVD. And the third one is Yahoo. Do you remember Yahoo was the platform in which there was the full knowledge of the internet. Now Yahoo, I think, doesn't exist anymore. I don't know. But there are some points that we need to look after. So surf the disruption, adopt the AI. And Martin gave me a couple of points that are here. So this is what we do, and I'm not going to go through it. So we inject AI in what is monitoring, fixing, creating, improving, and integrating all those use cases. What I want to highlight is just, guys, what we are doing is we are giving contextual intelligence in the optimization, meaning that we constantly monitor what the competitors are doing, what the keywords mean, what is the market doing, in order to give suggestions that then the agency or the team of the brand will have to create the intelligence and make informed decisions. And these are the results, the business outcomes. So to make it quick, revenues, increase of the revenues, reduce cost and business agility, we did an average amongst all the Clicks customers. And that's what we found, acting on a couple of topics like increasing organic traffic and conversion rate. That's the measurement, real benefits in real time. Then what I did yesterday, I interviewed ChatGPT because I said, look, let me see what ChatGPT AJ thinks about it. I say, this is the answer. By leveraging AI in these ways, digital and marketing agencies can improve their services, increase efficiency, and stay ahead of the competition in a rapidly evolving industry. However, and I was surprised, it's important to remember that AI is not a magic solution. It requires careful planning, implementation, and ongoing monitoring. So here, it's unlocking the human potential. And you see the growth that you can have using an AI-powered platform to do the routine work, to do the basics, and after that, you can use the time. So you can, using AI, you can do it fast, and you can have more time to do more important things. And please come and meet us. We are not shy at all. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Very good. Right, so Neil, Lunio, formerly PPC Protect, and they will, so anybody who spends money on, what is it, what percentage? Is that fraudulent, 5, 10 of ads, bots? Yeah.
I think the industry average is 8 to 10%.
Yeah, so if you're spending money on PPC or on any ads online, Lunio help you stop the bots clicking your ads costing you money. Super clever, we partner with them, they're great people. Shame Neil's poorly, but and there's an element of AI in how it's all learning to keep just getting better and better and better. They've just raised a truck ton of money and they're going to take on the world, was the conversation we were having the other day. So watch out for Lunio. We'll send around some slides and I'll get a PDF or something from Neil, so you can find out what those guys do. So Duncan is a long time. I was trying to work out how long we've known each other. I think it's 17 years.
Might be.
Yeah, 17 years. So I was doing email, you were doing email.
Like
Yeah. Were we in Blockbuster?
we may have been.
Yeah, so, and Duncan has been organising these amazing dinners in London for a long time, getting together smart people like Mike, who I've also known a long time, to just chat about tech, digital, what's coming, what's not coming. Last night they had their digital entrepreneurs dinner. So Duncan's just going to share a few of his thoughts. He also has an amazing business called Email Movers, if you need to do any email stuff, which he's been running for 20 years.
20 years, that's right.
Yeah, so there's a lot of knowledge there. So over to you, Duncan.
Thank you very much, Tom. So I made some notes actually because at the dinner last night we raced through everything in about 2 hours and it was a very creative space. I don't know if anybody else is feeling that at the moment. It's just idea after idea after idea, which means that you start to drown a little bit in it. You know, you need to then pause, take a breath, and think, hang on, this is a great space, but we need to be a little bit careful. One thing that I have noticed is that there's 2 or 3 females in the room. That's a problem for us here, and we have to be aware of that problem big time, because we need to have female voice in what's going on in these rooms all around the world, and we don't at the moment. It's maybe 1 or 2%. And this is going to shape the future for our kids. It's going to shape the future for us when we retire, the jobs that we have. And if that voice isn't heard, it's going to become a problem. Because we were talking about predictions, talking about data. That data isn't good. That mix is not right at the moment. So when you are working on this stuff, I do ask you guys to reach out and speak to people that might not be in your demographic and get their opinions on this. It's a really important thing, and I've heard it repeatedly at the AI dinner, which our first one ran back in 2019. We had Peter Scott come up. He's a NASA rocket scientist, so he was trying to predict where these rockets would land, which, as you can probably, well, they don't land, do they? Well, they do now, but they never used to. But he was trying to predict where they would go, and hopefully not get into trouble. And he's written a book. And we had him come along and speak at the AI dinner, and one of the big questions that came up was, this is T2, Terminator, all that kind of stuff. What should we do to stop that? And he said, oh, that horse is bolted. There's nothing you can do now. They've already been working on this for years. So all you can really do is protect yourselves and make sure that you've got some rules that you abide by. And those rules we discussed at the dinner again last night. So if you've got clients, there's a lot of agency guys here and girls, you've got clients that are looking to use AI in their businesses in order to scale or generate more revenues, etc. They're going to have 3 concerns when you first mention it in the room to them. So you're in the room, you've got your agency, team behind you, you've got your client in front of you, and you're talking about AI. And a friend of mine had a dinner party, 17 people came. He asked everybody in the room, this is only a couple of weekends ago, who's heard of ChatGPT? And none of them had heard of it. So there's a bit of an echo chamber here going on as well, got to remember that. So you've got this guy, he's in the room, he's spending a ton of cash with you, he wants to get a little bit more traction from that. It's going to be three things. The first thing, risk. Hang on, risk here. What are the risks to my business if we do this? You need to be able to have that answer. It's really important. And the risks are going to be around three things. There's going to be risks around control. How do we control what it says? Well, you can't, can you? That's the whole point of this. That's the whole point of ChatGPT. You're not writing it. It's writing it. You've got to figure out a way of control, of being able to have some element of control, whether that be in the training, whether it be in moderation. But we don't want to get to a situation where you've got human moderators moderating machines that are spitting out information that's better than the human moderator, because you're going to then have an adverse impact on it. But it's going to be raised in that meeting. The second thing is ethics. You need to have a big think about ethics in the agency that you work for or own, and then you have to really understand what the client's ethical situation is. It's so important, because if you don't get it right at the beginning, at the end, it will hurt you. Because something will happen that you may not even know could happen at the moment in a year or two as a result of the acceleration in this space that you've not planned for. And if you do have an ethical Bible for your business, you may be able to solve that problem because you've planned not for the problem, but you've planned answers for these types of things. So that's really important. The other thing was compliance. GDPR, I'll mention it. I've got GDPR in there. And I don't know if everybody's seen, but there is stuff in there about AI, about profiling. There's a lot of profiling going on here. Email Movers processes information on 700 million contacts globally. So my life is data. At the weekend, for fun, we indexed Product Hunt. Has everybody heard of Product Hunt? Hoping that you guys have heard of Product Hunt. Anyway, it's a website where people launch stuff. Loads of really cool kit on there. So we indexed it, got all 245,000 people off, got their LinkedIn's and everything, went through everything, and there was 4,258 people have launched AI products onto Product Hunt. So there's a big, it's coming, there's a wave coming, like a tsunami coming, all this tech's going to go out. And if you do not have the compliance checkbox ticked, you start using that tech within your client's infrastructure, you could, in theory, have problems. Or you could cause problems with the client. So there's a couple of other things in the last couple of minutes. Am I all right for time still?
Yeah.
So retraining people. We've all heard about the impact on copywriting, stuff like that. So those people are going to be looking for other things to do. So there's going to be huge retraining opportunities. Yeah, face to face. Want to be a scuba diver? You were a copywriter? I'll train you how to be a scuba diver. You'll then become a scuba diver instructor and off you go, live your life in the harbour, enjoy yourself. But if we think about that on a huge scale, that's where we could be going. And this is not going to slow down. This is going to accelerate at an incredible pace now. I mean, it's ChatGPT really has put a face on a machine. The tech was already all there. Everything was in place to do this. But somebody said, hey, you know what, let's put it behind a chatbot. Because as humans, when we talk to chatbots, we're interacting and engaging and communicating with something that we think could be human. And then what ChatGPT said, oh, well, we'll plug this into that. So now you will talk to it. It could have done it on email, could have done it on social media messenger, it could have done it on everything. But it decided to do it on live chat, and now we're all like, wow. But the techies, the hardcore techies are like, oh, it's just ones and zeros, guys. A bit like what we heard there. I do think it will become sentient, personally, and I think it will become sentient very quickly. There is a 1970s...
Is that you getting there in your teleporter?
There is an interview between a philosopher and a computer scientist back in the 1970s, big argument they had, and it was all about potentialist and consciousness. And the argument came to the point that actually we can't identify if someone's conscious right now. If you are in hospital and there's something wrong with you and you are unconscious, we don't know whether or not you are able to know and hear what's going on around you. We can't tell if you're conscious, which is why these machines are left on for years, keeping people in a meditative state. That is because we can't tell consciousness, we can't see it yet. So how would we know if it's now in a machine? The argument, it's on YouTube, it's a really interesting debate. Last thing, we've begun using a tool called BusinessBot.tech, which is now talking to our customers. So you will go to our website between 9 and 12 and you'll talk to a human. At lunchtime between 12 and 1, and after hours at 5, you will talk to our BusinessBot. It's $100 a month, I have $112 a month. It's powered by ChatGPT. It's a WhatsApp interface, so it's WhatsApp. And we've been monitoring it, and it is insane. We've connected it to our database using an API, so you can use APIs to bring other information into these systems. You're not just reliant on ChatGPT. So if your systems or if your clients have got these types of systems, you can fetch information in real time. So now our customers at Email Movers, got over 5,000 customers, past and present. They are getting counts from us, they are asking how much, they're asking all of the questions that they would typically ask a human operator in real time, and ChatGPT is using its natural language engine to understand the question, reframe it, because the client doesn't know what the question is, then get the information, provide it back inside the WhatsApp environment. Which means that because they're WhatsApp, they're no longer anonymous, like with most live chat systems. You don't know until they tell you who you are. So we can then campaign to them using keywords. Oh, you asked for information on marketing people 3 years ago, you've now got that magic list. Now that is running between 12 and 1 after hours. We're waiting to see what the conversion rate is. And then if it is higher than a human, in theory, why would we use a human for that particular process? Someone in the room last night, and I will finish on this, had just let go of their whole operations team. It's the first company I've heard of doing it, and replaced it all with these systems connected to various different APIs within their business. It's important to have data structured if you're going to use this tech at some point in the next couple of years. If your customer journey and your data is not structured, you won't be able to get the most out of it. And there you go, that's me.
Thank you very much, Duncan. We'll send around all the different bits Duncan mentioned, so you've got access to it. So I'm going to whiz through this, just sort of like, who am I? Why am I here? Why have I collected all of you together? And then just a bit about the tech we built and we launched last year, which is used by in-house teams and agencies, and uses a lot of AI and machine learning. Somebody said to me, well, my business partner, who was the founder of Skyscanner, said to me, it'll cost you more money, it'll take longer, and it'll be harder. Anybody building tech, I guarantee you, it'll cost you more money, it'll be harder, and it'll take longer. So we were hoping to have launched a year before we did, but we now have launched and it works. I'm going to share in this intimate community and live on LinkedIn a few stories about what we've done and a few case studies and examples. So this is me. I've been on a bit of a mission, getting asked to talk on the news recently, stuff all about retail, which has been fantastic. And we also do the 4-day week. We didn't do the experiment, we actually just did it anyway, and we were talking about that, but now there's some evidence to back up my idea. In marketing, we've all got this. We've got clients saying, I want to spend less and I want to make more money. Right, that's where we're at. Pressures on the economy are putting it, so everybody wants to reduce their media costs. They want to measure the right KPIs, they probably want to make more money, and they want to save time. Whether that's you as an agency or is that you as a retailer, that's sort of where we're at. And the thing around this is a really good problem to solve with AI, because ultimately, which click wins, what's the journey of the customer? There's so much data. And what the research is now saying, across all advertising, TV, radio, above the line, 2/3 of it's all going to be spent online by the end of this year. Right? So if you're in that online media space, it's only going to get more and more exciting and interesting. But also the machines are going to get in the middle, and you've got to work out how you fit in with all that. The sad bit, 3/4 of it is still going to Google and Facebook. You only have to look at Google and Facebook's numbers. They're the ones winning all the money. And 10% of that is all the bots that are costing making Google. I wouldn't be surprised if Google was inventing the bots to click their own ads. Who knows? But all of this data, I can't remember how many terabytes or whatever data you mentioned.
570.
570. It's oh, I'm meant to be walking somewhere. Don't know where I'm walking. I can moonwalk if you want. Let's get rid of that. But there's so much data now that we can't possibly, if we're an account exec looking after an ad account, or if we're an account director, you just can't possibly work out where to start. And you probably start where your boss taught you to start on your first day. So you'll start with Google and you'll start with campaign A and work down. That might not be the best place to start. So what we wanted to try and do was build a system that would help people make better decisions. Oh, coming out live on your phone. No, so I was like, well, that's exciting. But this is the old Ogilvy adage, isn't it? It's 25% of your marketing money is wasted. You just don't know which 25%. Right? That's like a thing. And I think a lot of you, or a lot of your clients, because who's an agency in the room and who's a brand? Or do you not want to admit it? Agencies? Well, no, we know you guys. But a lot of there has been over time a distrust between agencies and brands. Is the agency actually doing the right thing with my money? And the agency genuinely wants to do the right thing with the money, but there's sometimes a sort of smoke and mirror as well. There's this magic that the agency is doing that nobody knows. AI and machine learning are going to open up Pandora's box and give you visibility of all that magic. I think the opportunity there is to embrace it and enjoy the transparency so you can focus on your creativity, your strategy, your people's knowledge and strength and experience, rather than trying to pretend there's loads of magic going on. And also, who's ever been for a meeting with Google? You go for a meeting with Google, what's normally the answer? Spend more money with Google. Well, that's always the answer. That's always the answer. Same with Facebook, same with Amazon, right? But that's not necessarily what you should be doing, right? So the platforms almost incentivized for you to waste money, right? So what we sometimes, the question we're trying to answer is, where should you invest your next pound, dollar, euro? So that's what we do. And when we first set the business up, we called it Digital Marketing Intelligence, because we thought everybody would be scared of AI. It is AI, but we thought everybody would be scared of AI. But we've now changed it now to Digital Marketing AI, because ChatGPT's done us all a bit of a favour and educated. Although it's interesting what you say, it'd be wondering how many of my non-marketing friends actually have had a go or understand it, because you're right, we're all in talking to people who already know. So just quickly, it connects all your data, really super easy, and then it helps you make better decisions and your clients make better decisions. This is the short version of this. This was our first client who used it in anger with their real money. That was quite exciting. And it said, this is what's going to happen in the month of May, and it hit it to 96%. So it said, you're going to spend that much money, this is exactly what's going to happen. And they set us some really aggressive ROAS targets. And the machine. I was a little bit nervous, I'll be honest, because we hadn't actually taken someone's real money and done it. We've done a lot of simulations and testing. They now use it every month to plan all their business as usual, as do 50 plus retailers and many, many agencies. So Search Labs, Open Partners, Greenlight, Enjoy Digital, lots of agencies now using it to save time and make more money. There is slightly something I tell everybody. There's a bigger picture behind our business. I met my business partner from Skyscan on a bike ride. We're cycling from London to Sydney. If there's any keen cyclists in the room, we met on one of our bike rides. You can join us. We're cycling to Sydney to raise money for a Ugandan orphanage. And we thought, when we set this business up, we want to put something back to the kids in Africa. So Modo, which is the company that owns Bosco, is the name of a 10-year-old girl in Jinja, Uganda, and she represents 280 other kids who we take off the street, educate, clothe, home. And Bosco is actually the name of the chap who runs the orphanage, and he gives the vision and direction to Modo. So that's what we're all about. So, right. questions. So I'm gonna, can we get a mic so we can get unless you want to stand up and shout. We've got 10, 15 minutes. We'll stay around. We've got the room till 11. So if you want to hang around, do some networking, just hang around, do some work. We could create a really cool co-working space and have a bit of a hackathon on AI. But we've got first question here. If you also introduce who you are and all that, so we know the context, and if it's a particular, do you want me to decide who should answer? Because that could be good.
Okay, so I'm Kanako. I run like small, tiny creative agency based in Tokyo, Japan.
Oh, you didn't come from Tokyo just for this.
No.
Oh.
And
Yeah, that's what I think.
And my question is like we are really eager to use those kind of like a service, but we also hesitate to use because we don't know how the original data for learning is extracted. So is there any bias for in a data extraction process? And if so, how will you manage to take off the bias?
So you're saying where the data is extracted from, there is the bias. I suppose it's a bit like Duncan's point is if it's always men writing the AI, if you automatically got a bias.
For example, like probably the data, most of the data are from English speakers like market, non-English market. So then our clients probably cannot use it. So that's why we are very worried about. Like,
and is there local language versions of this yet?
Yes and then no, because Japan has a kind of like industry problem, the big agency occupy most of the data. That's the problem, but yes.
Anybody want to take that?
Martin, thanks.
Yeah, you're the expert.
Something like that, yeah. I mean, as I said, bias is a massive issue. I mean, I think there's certain things that technology guys can do to help that by being clear where their data set's coming from and being transparent. I mean, beyond that, I think it's about recognizing there is going to be bias because garbage in, garbage out, and it's not just assuming the technology can just take care of everything. I think this is where the sort of symbiosis of collective intelligence comes in, because a machine can give you a start point, and if you are recognizing there may be some bias in there, etc., then you have the human in the loop to address that. So this is going to be one of the biggest challenges, because one of the things that was recently discussed about ChatGPT is that because it generates fresh copy in its answers, if that copy is used for the next version, then over time the whole thing degrades because it's just a mashup essentially. So I don't think there is a perfect answer to that, but it's a challenge to the technology guys about, so what do you do to make sure you've got a Japanese data set that your predictions are sensible? So recognizing it, not just assuming the technology answers it all, and challenging to the tech guys, I would say, to make sure you've got as much bias out of it as possible.
And even probably using more data sets, adding more data sets to the analysis, it will lower the possibility that the bias factor. Because the more you ask to different data sets, then the more it will be objective. Yeah.
I think this sort of helps you to. When I first had the idea of doing Bosco, I went to a friend of mine who was super smart data scientist who we'd worked with before, sort of double PhD, market leading in this space. And I said, the question is where to spend my next pound, dollar, euro. His first thing is it's all about what data sets do we get, where can we get the data set from? I can only answer that question if we can get enough data from enough sources that we can trust. And that is, I think, the challenge as it goes global. And I hadn't really thought of it in that way. If it's all English in, is it all going to be English out or English language in?
There's a campaign in the US to specifically deal with bias in AI. Won an award, Drum Awards, about 2 or 3 years ago. But this issue that AI is not only sexist but racist, is a big concern, and it's really about people tend to use it and create it at the moment. And there's a good point about this. I did notice myself. that this is, you know, in terms of gender, this is actually, you know, the women are underrepresented in this room, which is actually unusual for any other sector. If you're talking about design or creativity, you
And
normally
certainly
see
marketing,
50-50.
it's just the
Yeah.
tech end of marketing
definitely, yeah.
seems to be like that.
I think also this does point to what I think is a weakness in AI, which is in many ways it's retrospective. Taking historic data, you're making an assumption that past behaviour is a good predictor of future behaviour. Just to give you an analogy, John knows about my analogies. So let's imagine that we were going to apply AI to X Factor. Right, so we'd build a model, wouldn't we? And our model would say, well, we know what a boy band looks like, you know, there's always 5 of them, all the stupid haircuts, one always wears
We all have to stand up at the same time.
yeah, exactly, exactly. One wears a long leather coat and they're all, you know, sulky looks on their faces. We know what a female band looks like, we know what a female celebrity looks like. So in that environment, what happens when a young Freddie Mercury turns up? The computer says no, because it doesn't recognize it. And this is one of the discussions that I have with retailers about the use of AI, is if you're not careful, if you overemphasize the use of AI, you stop being a trendsetter and you become an order taker. The problem with becoming an order taker, as we all know, is that will lead to a race to the bottom on price. So back to Amanda's point about it not being the silver bullet, that's why I do think you need this mixture of AI doing a lot of the heavy lifting. I use the same thing, but you know, human judgment on that as well.
Yeah, use the AI to help you make better decisions.
Yeah. That's my thanks.
Yeah.
Because this issue of AI learning from itself, so when all the copywriters are replaced by AI, so AI starts learning from AI copy, will it get some form of mad cow disease?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a race to the bottom, because actually this is this sort of point about sort of statistical or sentient. I mean, essentially it's just mashing up things and presenting it in a way that humans prefer. It's not actually original in a true sense that we would recognise original. So in a sense, it loses something along the way. It's a bit like I said, the example of ChatGPT doing maths. You know, it's not so good at it actually. It's because it's just correlated things together. So that is a massive problem. And I think to your point is that there's always going to be space for originality. And so I don't think the technology means doom for us all, but what it does mean is fundamental shifts in where we extract value and value we add, and it will come less from those prediction-centric resource-intensive activities that can be done by machines. And the trick is to embrace that. And you know, we see in talking to customers about this, you get two very firm camps. You get some who say, it's not good enough, it's not going to replace me, and the head's firmly in the sand, and they'll wait until inevitably happens, and others embrace it and learn from it and find new business models. And these will be the machine masters, the people who embrace it. Something
I was reading online is they're saying that there's patterns in the code, the output, that then another AI can spot that it was written by AI. Yeah. And is that a thing? I personally think it might be a thing. No, it is. In fact, on that, my son's at Birmingham University, and ChatGPT is revolutionary there, right? Because it's brilliant at writing code. They don't have to go to lectures. Code is a simple language, so it can spit out code to do anything or correct code. And actually, they banned it for that reason. But actually, AI can detect when AI is giving answers, and actually you can tell. But what's the point of learning it now, though? Yeah, that's true. What's the point? Yeah,
that's a bigger issue, isn't it? Education.
Well, we should just go. That's what Elon Musk was saying. We should just go get on with whatever we need to get on with the tools we need to get on with.
Yeah.
Learn how to use the tools rather than have to build the tools.
That's a nice question.
So, yeah.
I'm the CEO of Similar, and thank you for hosting. I have a question from a different angle about AI. I would consider ourselves as a brand trying to implement AI internally. And we have a very weird problem that I was wondering if you're also seeing it, because ChatGPT and AI are here for more than a month or so. And we have plenty of people inside the organization trying to push them to use it. Content creator, PMM, product marketing people, brand people. and we are unsuccessful. And even yesterday I had a meeting with our head of content writer. They need to produce blog posts that they soon publish leader agencies. And they kind of refuse. Like I find myself trying to force them, sitting next to them, please open ChatGPT, and I see this human behavior of people afraid of the technology, afraid of its take the work. And as you guys dealing with it, I wonder if you're seeing this phenomenon in your organization, and how you convince the human people to adopt this technology, the people that are afraid, like your son. So this is like my most thing that's on my mind right now.
I think this is a common problem we all have. I think some of us have got examples. Do you want to go first?
We do have this capability of doing AI generated content in our platform. And this is absolutely the first problem that we have is the adoption. Because people, first of all, they want to defend themselves in a way from technology. The point is artificial intelligence can create as good content as possible if they have a guidance, and the guidance is set by the human. So the expertise of the people needs to be infused in what AI does. And once you start to do it, you can replicate it very, very fast. So that's the main value. It's about being extremely fast and extremely productive with the help of AI. And you're right, the first approach is, I don't want to use this because I know how to do my job. I don't need a machine to do it. But it's like before email, we were phoning people, and now the email.
When was the last time you sent a fax?
Yeah, well, fax.
They still do it in the NHS.
Yeah, there is someone who's doing it. But at the end, my suggestion would be try to coach those people to try a sample, to try to use it or show them how to use it, and they will see. But emphasize, please, the value that they bring. Because in this way, they will adopt the tool, the platform, and they will have more time to do added value things.
So, as an editor, a journalist, a copywriter, what's your view? And would you fire one of your team if they used AI to write the copy?
Well, to your point, I think it's totally irrational. Somebody being nervous about opening and working with ChatGPT. I mean, this is the most disruptive thing we've seen in our lifetimes. And it's not only going to change commerce, but it's going to dramatically transform culture. And so I think it's hard to overstate the impact this is going to have. It's going to have an impact relatively quickly, to your point about exponential development. So you're reading about Google, for example. Will that model be broken within 2 or 3 years? Will, advertising on the web be no longer sustainable as people go to direct AI platforms? We've been playing with, as everyone else has, we've been going in, it starts off as a bit of a joke, write a song, write an article, you think, oh my God, that article's actually quite good. We did actually have a copywriter in business who sent me some copy to demonstrate. I literally could not tell what was AI and what the one she written. I had to double check. So it's a difficult issue. There's a lot of people doing jobs now which will not exist in 2 or 3 years' time. I mean, it is huge. So I'm sort of partly sympathetic to somebody being nervous about it, because I actually do think it's rational. And to the point about education, I mean, all of the emphasis, all of our training and education is really based on preparing people to do the things AI can now do. So there's very little in markets in the UK where we're seeing, actually how you apply knowledge is more important than knowledge. There's a lot of criticism about the lack of creative training in the UK, for example. So this is going to disrupt us. I'm not sure, we are culturally ready for the change that's about to happen. I think it could be very disruptive. Big opportunities.
To that, I work with agencies all the time, and I'm Phil Griffin from Waypoint Partners, by the way. I work with agencies all the time, and what we find is the industry conditions everyone to be proud of and think about the craft of what they do, and not the value that they deliver for their client. And therefore they get stuck in that thing about, I can't do that because it's my craft, rather than, can I add more value to the client by using ChatGPT? And I think, if people can get their heads around the fact that it's the value that matters rather than the craft itself, then we'll see that transition happen easier and people will maybe embrace it more.
Yeah.
But it is a cultural issue that we're going to have to deal with inside these organisations. Yeah. It's going to be a fascinating thing to deal with.
I'll tell you exactly what we did. So we have so we've got another side to our business is we help brands in-house, right? So we help people with strategy and planning and SEO plans and this and that, and part of that is a content plan. And my SEO content team was no, we're not doing this. We just can't do this. So initially I sat down exactly what you were saying. Here's how to do this. It's oh no, that article's just not good enough. Somebody will recognise it's written by AI. And there's a bit that. Then I went around the other way and we did a whole company meeting all about it. And I said, look, this is coming. Work out how you can use it in your area, in your business. What could we do? Could we use it to send debt collection letters to people who haven't paid the bills? What are the tasks you're doing that need to be done that you don't enjoy doing that could be done by AI? So we started brainstorming and thinking around that. So that got everybody thinking about it a bit more. And actually we did some examples live and showed people, because a lot of people were just scared to even have a go, I think. And that was it. They didn't really want to see the answer. They didn't want to find out that maybe it can write an article as well as they can. What we've been doing specifically for SEO copy, and we tested it with a few clients, was product descriptions, and we actually used the API version and uploaded a load of spreadsheets, and we got 300 product descriptions that were almost bang on, right? And they were all, we read all of them, but it took like 18 seconds to write 300 product descriptions, right? So, but then what we've also been doing is, I think it's about how you ask the question to get the right copy out. I think that's what we're going to get. People are going to get good at. You might have like a master AI practitioner who is really good at asking the right questions to get the best answer.
The AI will start stealing that data as well.
Yeah, start stealing your questions.
There was a story this morning about Morgan, I think it's Morgan Stanley, the big banks banned their traders from using ChatGPT because they're worried that when they frame the questions, they're giving away too many secrets, confidential information about the clients. Yeah.
So I was just
There's a question about.
It feels, I've been in the industry for a few years, it feels a bit like history repeating itself in that we had this sort of digital transformation, which most digital transformations failed. Then we had mobile transformation, which those failed, and now we're going to AI transformation. I think it feels like culturally is often where the failing is, in terms of these transformations are done by teams, not by businesses. And they're done by siloed teams, and then everybody else needs to try and get on board and catch up with where the business is going. So I think AI transformation needs to come from the top down as opposed to like building silos of teams. It almost needs to be a company-wide initiative, taking on board some of the initiatives you spoke about in terms of that learning, that education, and building AI maturity within the business.
And I think you're absolutely right. It's got to be embraced from top down. So a lot of people have these ideas, and it might be a little bit of a skunk works in a certain department where we're doing stuff that's naughty. I think it needs to be embraced as right. This is okay. We've got to learn how to get the best out of it. I actually called this is 2023 the year of AI because I went to, and some people in the room did it, went to multiple conferences with e-consultancy where it was always the year of the mobile. Right? We kept going to the same conference. It's like this year's the year of the mobile. So hopefully we're not sat here next year and it's like now this is the year 2024, the year of AI. Yeah. Has anybody got one final question? Then we'll just have another coffee wrap up. Feel free to chat. Oh, right, you can go. Joe.
Is that me?
Yeah.
This is
what do you do?
My name's Jo Woodington. I'm the founder of StyleSwap, and we have built an AI model that helps personalise the shopping experience for fashion and e-commerce. This is a question for you, Andre.
Okay.
Andre, and I was actually going to ask you, what's the biggest problem that you've encountered working with brands? How they adopt your technology? It's obviously quite a big investment for them. You know, proof of the effectiveness of your model and your data sets and that kind of thing.
Okay. So, what's the biggest challenge? Well, if you're a retailer, your job really is to help shoppers navigate the paradox of choice. That's your problem. And if you don't do it right, it will go to Amazon. So for a retailer, a lot of it is about a brand narrative, which is on the expression of that on your site really is around the curation. So this is the challenge, is to say to them, we can give you something that will still give you that kind of control, but actually change the sequencing to things that are personal to John, that would be different from Martin or Gordon, but also to have a much better understanding of what things you're likely to return. And it's things like returns actually that kills retailers' margins. I'll just give you a simple example. So a lot of this is about kind of building out a product taxonomy to understand what goes with what. And excuse me for using this example, but it's the example I've been told, which is take a large busted woman. If she buys a high crew neck top, she's much more likely to return that than a scoop neck, simply because the high crew neck doesn't suit that shape. And that's an example where AI won't know that, but somebody who understands that domain will do. So it's kind of programming AI to understand certain things. So the reason we've had success really with, particularly with fashion retailers, is showing them the ability, you can do anything from completely manually merchandising to complete AI or any combination in between. So I hope that answers your question.
Can I ask a second question?
Sure.
What's the problem you've encountered with working with brands? Because they're very well established it's a very kind of linear e-commerce model that a lot of brands have built inherently. What's the problem that you found working with them, integrating the systems, or the initial cold start problem, I guess is what I'm
Okay, so the cold start problem is very specific to fashion, which is most fashion retailers will have a new product drop for about 30% of their catalogue at any time. So the way we've solved that is the product taxonomy is massively expanded. So rather than having 8 or 10 attributes per product, typically they have 40 or 50. What that means is I don't need to know who you are, I don't need to know what you've done previously, but within about 3 clicks, imagine I take 3 different products you've looked at, and put that into a Venn diagram, bit in the middle kind of tells me what your intent is. It's not just about, oh, she's looking at a velvet jacket. It's more to do with occasion, and therefore what does this also go with? So our biggest challenge actually is getting in front of a retailer. Once we're in front of a retailer, we have a very high success rate.
So we're going to wrap up. If you want to carry on the conversation over coffee, just I'd like to thank the Drum Labs for hosting us. Round of applause for Gordon and And we are going to do these again, so we'll be asking for your feedback on content, on venue, on quality of bacon and halloumi sandwiches. And thank you very much for coming. Please stay around for coffee. Make sure you take a yellow book from the back.
Take a pen. Please.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, John. Thanks, John. Well done.
Good. Thanks for coming. Very good. I'll share all the links if you want to buy your meals and what have you.
So we